is football. If I would agree. I mean, if football wasn't a sport where you're almost guaranteed to get hurt, then I would love to do like a March Madness style. Like, hey, just have everybody in. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in the top 25, you're in the tournament. But football doesn't work like that. Is that Desi? What up, my boy? What up, Desi Dez? DJ Desi Dez, everybody,
Hello.
making his dope blog debut. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's another great day to discuss other people's excellence. I'm the unforgettable one himself, Mr. Brett Carroll. Charles is always daydreaming. We're just two guys that like talking about football and BSing at work. And speaking of BS, this Zoom is just really blowing me. But anyway, college football regular season is over. It's been a remarkable season. We haven't talked about it at all. So like we kind of have to talk about it. A lot has gone down this season that we're going to talk about. So let's just get into it because I don't know what's going on with the Zoom today. Uh we predicted the demise of the ACC all summer and we thought it was going to happen, and then the Pac-12 said, "Nope, hold my beer." The Pac-12 is gone. There's only two teams left, Oregon State and Washington State. Um Oregon and Washington have gone to the Big Ten. The rest of the schools are going to the Big 12, and Stanford and Cal are going to the ACC along with SMU. So, like I said, the only two teams that are left are Oregon State and Washington State. And the only reason why they're left is because they're so bad at programs and nobody wanted them. Um, and we've gone on nauseum talking about, what's going on with that and the problem with college football. But to be honest with you, I don't feel bad for the Pac-12. I really don't. And the reason why is, one, I hate the Pac-12. Two, this is their fault. The Big 12 came to them 2 years ago and said, "Hey, listen, we're losing Texas and Oklahoma. You're losing USC and UCLA. We should probably merge if we want to survive." And the Pac-12, being the Pac-12, literally stuffed their noses to the Big 12 because they're the fucking Pac-12. We're the conference of champions. The Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. The Pac-12 is one of those conferences, the most prestigious. Like, you would think they're fucking Ivy League, the way they talk down to people, the way that, and to be fair, a lot of their schools are Ivy League-esque in terms of education. But
Well, Stanford is, I believe.
no, but Stanford, USC is a really good school. Cal is a really good school. Like those schools could be technically Ivy League schools if they wanted to be. But growing up, I always hated the Big Ten and I always hated the Pac-12 or Pac-10 back then because that's what they were. They were just like, "Oh yeah, we're just so much better than everybody. Yeah, we have all the Olympic sports. Look at all the fucking swimmers that come from Oregon. Like, ooh, look at all the volleyball players." And now look at you. Now you're in the redneck conference,
Wow.
Pistons, and you're no, seriously. Arizona State and Arizona were talking shit when they had to merge with the Big 12. Talking about, "Oh, I don't feel I don't want to go to West Virginia," and da, da, da. I'm like, "Well, guess what? You're gonna have to." Like, and so I don't feel as much as I don't like what's happening with college football and all the realignments and all this other stuff. I'll be the first to admit I could care less about the Pac-12 falling. They deserve it. Their own ego did it. Their own ego wouldn't allow them to do it. And the Big 12, now I'll be fair, depending on the reports, the Big 12, some were saying we're even willing to say, "Look, we'll call ourselves the Pac-12 or whatever, or we'll call ourselves something new. Like, we don't want to absorb you, we want to merge, right?" Like, so the Big 12 came to them humbly and said, "Yo, man, if we want to survive, we're probably gonna have to combine here." And the Pac-12 looked at them like, "Are you kidding me? Get who you think we would ever merge with you?" And now you didn't merge, assholes. You got absorbed. I love that. I love that so much. I love that so
All
much.
this just sounds like rich people bullshit. As someone that covers news and as a casual fan of college football, and because I feel like I really do like college football, but I don't follow the little bullshit of it. When I was a kid, I liked all the separate
Oh,
Rose
wait,
Bowl,
wait, wait,
Sugar Bowl.
real quick, because I want to get you mad real quick. You know what they
All right.
also did? You know what they also did? Pac-12 schools were pointing to Rutgers and saying it was telling the Big 12 they should kick Rutgers out. Like, oh, they're so bad. Why do you have them? This is not fair that our
Big Ten.
prestigious conference is getting ripped apart, but Rutgers gets a free ride into the Big Ten. First of all, it's not a free ride. We don't even get to benefit from people that don't know. We still don't get full benefits from being in the Big Ten. We don't get full revenue. So one of the reasons why we're bad is while everybody else is making hundreds of millions of dollars a year, we're still only getting like I think 30 to 40 million a year. So our facilities that were already behind the eight ball are still behind the eight ball because we got to do things in like monetarily steps and everything else. But these Pac-12 assholes have been talking shit, talking about they should kick Rutgers out. Oh, I love it. I love it.
This is so fucking like, and this is why, if everyone wonders why we don't do more college football stuff, is because my brain, when I hear this stuff, I just get annoyed. Like I don't even like it is, and this is why so many people, me and Brett, get annoyed at when they use when they overuse like the slavery metaphors, because like the idea that these schools are making nine figures off sports and they just started to kind of pay these players after decades of this, decades of this type of political maneuvering for the few air quotes boosters and for the few college boards that have benefited from these movements, because it's not even like, it's annoying to me as someone that covers government and local municipal bodies, right? That ask the average college football fan what the NCAA does. So do you think we're going to get a uniform answer? So the idea now that me and you, as the two regular blue collar dudes we are on this platform that we just choose to do and speak out into the ether, right? Now we have to try to talk about the bullshit politics of the things under this bullshit umbrella, right? These air quotes leagues that we just agree exist until they don't. Because no other sport, and I'm going to say sport separately, because we hold the XFL to a higher standard. We hold the USFL to a higher standard. We hold arena football to a higher standard, because I would like to talk more about arena football and all this stuff, but it's like, who wants to hear about failing leagues merging with one another to the benefit of whom exactly? Because it's not about the fans. Like, usually when we get on here and we talk sports, period, fan perspectives, fan opinions, knowledgeable opinions at times, more or less emotional fan responses to things, because there's enough assholes trying to make this shit sound deeper than it is on TV, getting paid to do that, right? The tacit agreement me and Brett have. And here we are, and this is politics with jerseys. That's all this is. This is like I'm not supposed to be doing work. That's why, if you guys are wondering why I have this face on, it's because this is bullshit, and like I'm not getting paid to cover this. Like that's like actually what my body's doing. It is shutting down because I get paid to cover bullshit like this. It just doesn't have a football involved. Because at the end of the day, like, all right, this is a sports story. What person that coaches or plays on a team do we need to hear from about this? Because like the people that really like college sports don't really care about the student athlete, right? So no one really cares what their opinion is, unless you're at the very tippy top of the game, right? If a Caleb Williams says something, then we're gonna tune in and maybe talk about it for a whole 30 fucking seconds. Which coach matters?
By the way, here's what I love about it too. Stanford and Cal were the biggest ones. The brown nose, like, we're not going to you. The ACC didn't even want them. Like Notre Dame had to beg. Well, no, they begged Notre Dame, and Notre Dame begged the ACC to bring them in, and the ACC said no like multiple times. Then they finally voted to bring them in, and that's only because they know Florida State and Clemson and some other people are trying to leave. So they're like, you know what? To be safe and cover our own asses, it won't hurt to add.
Oh, where?
Well, politics. Florida State wants to join the Big Ten. ESPN's not going to let that happen.
And another thing is, it's like, why?
ESPN, well,
Because at the end of the day, like, I know what the answer is. I really do. I know what the answer is, and the answer is going to be money.
yeah, of course.
That's
Yeah,
it.
their TV deal sucks. They want the TV deals that the Big Ten and the SEC are getting. But ESPN owns the SEC deal and the ACC deal, so the ESPN's like, you could leave, but it's not going to be to the Big Ten. It's going to be to the ACC. I mean, it's going to be to the SEC. But the Big Ten wants Florida State more than the SEC does. So it's been a whole thing. And the ACC was smart enough to just say, you know what? In order to protect ourselves, let's just hurry up and grant 3 more schools, because if 7 schools leave, we don't want to be stuck. Or at least we have a bunch of schools that are still here. So that was it. But that's what I love about it. Stanford and Cal, who were the 2 biggest brown nosers to all this. We're Stanford and we're Cal. We don't want to be cool. That's why you're begging Notre Dame to beg the ACC to come to get you, and the ACC was like, "No, we don't want to get you because that makes zero sense. Why are we going to travel across the country for basketball, for volleyball, for track, for soccer, for every other sport? Football is one thing; it's a once a week thing. Cool." You do it once, then we'll have to do it once next year. Cool. Every other sport, it's like, no, bro, like that's gonna be like a logistical nightmare, and you guys aren't good. And,
Yeah, no, this whole thing is bullshit. Like, that's the best way I can kind of.
and y'all not even good in football enough
I'm
to
trying
like.
to be honest here, guys. Like, this is
I
this,
love it. I
this
love
is
it.
just politics. This is not even, if there wasn't the connection to a game that you like. This is corporate/bureaucratic politics. This is one government entity moving from one umbrella to another umbrella. It is the equivalent of an LLC working as an independent contractor, moving from one corporate conglomerate to another while retaining IP. That's all it is.
Yeah.
This isn't about the students at all. As somebody that I went to Rutgers the first year that they joined the Big Ten, is there an influx of money for the little guys? Sure. And as you've heard me say multiple times, the move to the Big Ten has helped the basketball program way more than the football program, and I like that. I enjoy it. I think it's good. Overall, I like Rutgers' move to the Big Ten because of Rutgers' location and the prospects New Jersey constantly pushes out. But with that said, this doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work. I can separate the reality that my school has personally benefited from it in certain ways. Definitely not going to deny that. But overall, would I recommend? Would I do it again? No. Wouldn't even do it again because it's this minimal.
And at the end of the day, I still miss. And let's be real, even though the basketball team has benefited from it, from a sports fan, wouldn't you have rather just stayed in the Big East and be competitive in all sports? Like the football team was competitive in the Big East.
I'd rather would have stayed in the Big East and try to get the basketball team where it's at anyway, while having the local rivalries. Because on a college level, I care more about the Iron Bowl than I do Rutgers versus Michigan State. I'm just keeping it a buck.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If the Big East would have never collapsed, the basketball team would still be good because the Big East was one of, if not the best basketball conference anyway. So it wouldn't have hurt the basketball team, and the football team would have been better because they would have at least been competitive. So
like, this is such a like, I feel some type of way, and Brett's gonna look at me like my name's Kai because like I'm gonna put on my tinfoil. Like, this is the conversation they want us to have and talk about the football matchups, talk about what superstars are going to go where in the future and all this other bullshit. And these are schools.
that's a great.
Like, at the end of the day, we're talking about schools. We're talking about like what Brett said. And again, there's other things to talk about football related that I actually do want to talk about. So I'm not going to get bogged down in this. But I just want to stress that neither me or Brett, neither Brett or I, are just taking with a grain of salt how much of a hassle and how much of a problem this is causing for everyone else. This is causing for the track team because we have family and friends that did that sport. That it's causing for the other students that aren't superstars, and the other students that extracurricular activities aren't making millions of dollars on ABC. Like, it is insane to me that all this is happening under the guise of what's good for the student. bullshit. Like, and I don't even know who they're lying to, because most college football fans I know aren't this delusional. Like, they're not. Like, most college football fans I know, if they didn't go to the school that they're a fan of, they like it because of the sport. So they only care in the guise of the football team. And so it's not that deep to them. They're not looking into it like that. Like one of the parts that we all laugh at up here in New Jersey is when we were watching Saban's Roll Tide at the height of that dynasty in the 2010s. You'd get Alabama University like commercials about their programs and stuff, and you'd be like, "Oh yeah, there's a school." This whole part, especially with the Pac-12 and the Big Ten and all the public. Like, if Brett knows, and that's the most annoying part. Brett hasn't said anything that isn't public. He's not going to regurgitate the quotes for you because we're assuming you already know the basis of what we're talking about by now. And so it's just insane because these assholes are saying this publicly. Like, they're not even hiding these little political maneuvers. At the end of the day, who are they for? Who? Because, like, I'm the regular dude. I have student loan payments because I went to this school that Brett said, and once again, to follow up on the last pod where Brett called an $8 billion company small, we're scoffing at 8 figures. Eight figures. Money I can't imagine to earn, period, in my life, let alone once. But yearly incomes of 8 figures, and I still owe that fucking school $30-something thousand because I got my degree. And I was good enough to get grants and scholarships and shit. Like, I'm just saying, like, this doesn't even help the kids that are going to these schools because they got an academic and or sports scholarship to go to a Rutgers. And they might not be from the school at the commute. So they're going to a Rutgers. And what happens when school gets tough? And, like, they don't, and traveling across the country is hurting their academics.
Don't worry, the TV money, it'll help them.
Yeah, but like they don't think about how all this shit, like,
no, Charles, don't
actually go to school. A lot of these people actually go to school.
Don't you know now that we're in another conference that you're good? You don't even have to pay that money back because they're getting all this TV money. They're not going to ask you for that money.
The highest paid state employee in New Jersey is the head coach of Rutgers.
Yeah, that's how
fucking insane.
That's how that works. They're not going to ask you for your $30,000. They just got $100 million. They're not worried about you.
Daniel Day, by the way, when I read that fast, I was like, why is my uncle's name up here? like I read it so fast, and I was like, you don't even know Uncle Danny. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, congrats to Jayden Daniels for winning a Heisman. Speaking of just everything going on with the transfer portal and stuff like that, the win continues streak of transfer QBs winning the trophy. Like, is the transfer portal like a good, like, well, I think it's
absolutely. Absolutely.
For me, this shows me, and it's funny because Bo Nix and Jayden Daniels might be first round picks this year, and they swap conferences, right? One was in the Pac-12, they went to the SEC, Jayden Daniels. The other was in the SEC, went to the Pac-12, Bo Nix. It just shows once again, football is nothing more than coaching, scheme, like all that stuff. Because these guys were not good at their first school, and they're superstars now. And like I said,
well, not good. It's not just coaching. Because and this is piggybacking on chat, my boy Cody, because we were arguing about Zach Wilson, and he was blaming the Jets, and I was like, no, sometimes it's just the player sucks, right? So in college, it's definitely more important than the NFL. The NFL, don't get me wrong, the NFL is super important. Coaching matters everywhere in every sport, but especially in college because the talent pool is spread that much more thin, even though it is still top heavy. But coaching definitely matters. With that said, it's not only coaching. It just matters about the roster and the guys in the locker room. I think a lot of people, again, to piggyback off what I just said about the students, these are kids a lot of the time. Some of these dudes are 18, 19 years old in a locker room. And like we're joking, but like ABC, real money, real pressure. Not to even count the academic and family pressure that they might be under. And there's that video of Jayden at his previous school with his teammates saying, "Yeah, clear out your locker, you suck." So like that's not on it's on the coach to a certain extent. But let me say it like that. But you know what I mean. That's on the teammates because even if you don't like somebody, like I know I'm not in the age group of these players anymore. I'm 34, but you look at it as a grown ass man. You're like, even if you don't like somebody, like, oh, that might be the last time you ever see that person. Like you can't even be like, "Hey man, wish you the best of luck at your next trip, your next school." Da, 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 da. Obviously, that comes with life experience. That comes with having different jobs. Like 24-year-old me handles shit differently than 34-year-old me. That's just how life goes. So I'm not saying all these aren't factors, but like the transfer portal is necessary because we live in a capitalistic society that encourages people to do what's best for themselves and their career and their pockets, right? And if you're going to keep preaching all this shit and letting these schools move conference to conference, you can't stop players from moving team to team, school to school, just because journalism school, political science degree too. You're telling me I couldn't have switched when I was going to my community college if I planned to go to Rutgers? I went to Rutgers for one semester, and then I was like, you know what? I really want to go to Missouri or Vanderbilt or something like that. And I just said, hey, screw it. I want to go there. I can. There's nothing stopping me from doing that. At least to my knowledge, there might be some fugazi student loan laws out there that would stop me from doing such a thing. But like the idea that again, it's just insane. This is new stuff still in the context of college football in America. Like because I see this and I'm like, yeah, Jalen Hurts is really good. I know what I just said. Jalen Hurts, the guy who wasn't good enough for Alabama, but then became good enough again. And then, I remember me and Brett catching shit because I was saying he should start in the NFL. Now I look like I'm just piggybacking off the common sense thing. This shit helps quarterbacks that need the opportunity just because they got stuck at a school with another good quarterback. I'm not trying to shit on any other quarterbacks, but a lot of these guys are moving because, hey, you can hate on Tua all you want. Dude was balling in college. You can hate on Dwayne Haskins all you want. Rest in peace. Dude was balling in college. Those guys had to move to other schools to become good, and now they're household names. Now they're Heisman winners. Joe Burrow couldn't beat out Dwayne Haskins, and that sounds insane a couple of years later. So I feel like so weird. Again, Daniel Day. Besides Daniel Day-Lewis, I'm really just keep seeing my uncle's name. I feel like this is obvious, and it's just funny because again, college football. We talk about the good old boy club of the NFL. College football has an even older guard, and you just know that they still hate all this stuff. That a player could move a school and within a year be playing against the school I got him into. There's some ancient, decrepit boosters, not boomers, boosters out there, because I might have said boomers earlier, beating boosters. There's some boosters out there that hate all this stuff. Besides the moving around, because that's more money for them to throw around, but all the player empowerment stuff that gets lost in the sauce. Because how many players move in the portal a year on average? Do you know?
Shoot, this year a lot. It's already like I think they said there's 100 something quarterbacks in the portal, and there's only 133 programs. So like most people's are
That's
gonna.
amazing. I think that's awesome. I really do. Because at the end of the day, man,
it's become free agency. Like that's what it is.
That's what it should be. Like honestly, dude, like it's crazy to me because only in football is there this random brand loyalty in college. Because in college basketball, or like basketball as a sport, right? You switch teams in high school, college, like okay, you know what I mean? Like it makes the rivalry more. It's not as like, I can't believe you're leaving us. You're leaving us. In college football, they treat that shit like a cult. Like, oh yeah, how could you want to leave? Dude, I'm the third quarterback here. If I go to that school, I can start. Oh, you're being selfish.
Why last year, coach? Like what you mean? Like
they'll say those kids are being selfish. And then that same coach will be out that season, not next season, that season. Be like, oh shit, I accepted this job. I'm out in 2 weeks. I know the playoffs are in a couple weeks, but we're not making them. But I might make them next year at that program.
Right.
like I just feel crazy because I covered like me and you talk about all of the top level college stuff, nothing too deep, right? And it's just insane to me because my job is covering government, and it's like these guys at the top.
I love how you keep saying things that are great for transition, and I'm trying to transition, and then you're like, no, but I'm really mad about this.
Because, bro, like, how does just playing a football game erase all this shady shit? Like I don't like. That's the part that I didn't get it when before I was even in high school. I remember people talking to me about this, and I was like, this doesn't make sense.
Bro, it's
And
absurd.
now as an adult, it just really doesn't make sense. Like I'm just kind of like because so like for politics in America, we should just throw a football game in front of it, and people won't ask questions.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what they do. It's called
I
college.
know that's what they do. Sorry, been a long day. Like,
Anyway, controversy struck again. Florida State, who was undefeated, won their conference championship, was number 4, got pushed down to 5, and didn't make the college football playoffs. Also, number 1 Georgia, who had not lost in 29 straight games in 2.5 years, lost one game by 3 points in the SEC championship game, and they got pushed out to 6. And so, as you guys could probably imagine, it was hysteria last week with did the college football playoff get it right? Because we know for a fact the only reason why Florida State didn't make it is because their star quarterback, Jordan Travis, got hurt. And they've simply believed without him, they have no shot of winning the championship. Therefore, we're going to kick him out and put another team in and give them a chance to win it all, despite the fact that Florida State was the third undefeated team in the nation. Where the other two made it, they did not. And the two teams that did make it all had one loss. Um, I don't know. Well, my biggest thing is this. College football was made for controversy. That's part of what makes the sport fun.
okay, so I actually have some stats here so to back up what I'm about to say. FSU's opponent's record: LSU 9-3, Southern Miss 3-9, Boston College 6-6, Clemson 8-4, VT Virginia Tech 6-6, Syracuse 6-6, Duke 7-5, Wake Forest 4-8, Pitt 3-9, Miami 7-5, North Alabama 3-8, Florida 5-7. Overall record 67-76. Who was the one losses to the other teams that got it? Were they better teams
Oh, of
than
course.
the? Okay, so I think that starts there because again, I don't have a dog in this race, and again, you guys have heard for 2 years now, just make more teams than 4. You know what I mean? Like I really just feel like this is built
Well,
in.
to be honest with you, this is my biggest thing. They made it 4 on purpose. There's 5 Power 5 conferences. So I'm surprised it's never happened yet, but it was totally possible that we could have had 5 undefeated Power 5 champions and one of them doesn't get in. Like
Oh,
the whole point was it to be controversial, but I think that's what makes college football great is the controversy. So that's part of like this 12 playoff team thing. Now, I will say this. I will say this. With NIL, we're seeing it. There's way more balance and parity in college football, right? This year, there was legitimately 7 teams that should have made the playoffs. Because even Oregon, like, they were 6 points away from being undefeated Pac-12 champions. Like, they would have been in, and Washington would have been out, right? So it's one of those things where there were 7 legit teams, and I'm saying 7 because yes, Florida State was really good. They have not just NFL players, they have first round talent all throughout that roster. They got 2 wide receivers that could go in the first round. They have a edge rusher that will be in the first round. Jordan Travis was playing in a way where he might have been a first round pick. Their running back might be a first round pick. Like they're good. They're really and yes, they didn't play anybody this year, but they are really, really, really good defensively and offensively. But again, I'm not mad at the college football player for saying, you know what? We've seen some bad games in the college football playoffs. We don't want the same thing to happen. We don't want a Florida State team who was not only did Jordan Travis get hurt, but I think their second string quarterback got hurt too. So we don't want a Florida State team with their third string quarterback in the college football playoffs and get blown out. That's not good for ratings. That's not good for the sport. That's not good for what we want this to be. Um, which is why I transition. We talked about this last time. I don't like the 12 team playoff because I feel like you're inviting that element back into it. If they did 6, I would be cool with it. We're we're seeing now, even if you wanted to do 8, I'd be cool with it. But we're seeing now with NIL, we're going to see way more and more parity. And maybe if you want to make the argument that there will be a day that there will be 12 to 15 great teams in the college football, okay, maybe I could agree to that though, that with NIL and parity and everything else, we might get to a day where 12 to 15 teams are legit. But right now, I don't see it. And right now, I just think we're just doing it where everybody gets in, which ruins college football because that's the whole point of college. Like I just said, listen to what I just told you. Georgia had not lost a single game in 2.5 years. They lost one game at the end of the year by 3 points, and they're out of the playoffs. I think
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's what makes college football great.
No, I don't. I think that sounds more fugazi than Florida not getting it.
Yeah, of course. But that's my point. But I think that's
But I think that's what the 12-team playoff solves that.
what is that?
No, there's no way a team that's been undefeated for 2 years that loses one game isn't one of the better teams in the whole sport.
Right, but they wouldn't be 12 though. That's my point. They would be 6.
Yeah, whatever. Like it doesn't matter as long as they're in. Like the whole argument for Florida State is that they deserve to be in because they're good enough to be in, right?
Right.
If you think that the 10, 11, 12 spots are fugazi, good, they should lose. But what the NBA play-in has taught us, what the additional wild cards in the NFL has taught us, and the MLB has taught us is real recognize real and ball don't lie.
Yeah, but here's the only difference is football. If I would agree, I mean, if football wasn't a sport where you're almost guaranteed to get hurt, then I would love to do like a March Madness style. Like, hey, just have everybody in. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in the top 25, you're in the tournament. But football doesn't work like that. Is that Desi? What up, my boy? What up, Desi Dez? DJ Desi Dez, everybody,
Hello.
making his dope blog debut. What's up, man? But yeah, that's my thing. Like, if football is just too violent of a sport where we can just let teams that have no business being in there in, because like you're gonna get hurt. And again, I said this last pod. I really think what we're gonna start seeing is some of these top players not playing in those first round games. Like, bro, if I'm a top 5 pick, I'm not about to sit there and play Oregon State. We should blow them out anyway without me. If y'all win and we get to the Final Four, I'll play, but I'm not going to play in this game and risk injuring myself. That don't make sense.
I don't think anybody's sitting out. I don't think so. And if you're one of these later seeds, if there's a first round, cool. But that's like saying an NFL team's going to sit out their starters because it's a wild card round. No, you're not.
Well, that's totally different. You're a professional, and there's nothing else to.
And dude, and if there's more parity, that means there's less difference between 12 and 1.
Well, but that's my point. If we get to a point where there's 12 legit teams, I would agree with it. I don't think
But 12 legit teams just means at least every conference has at least 2 legit teams of the 5 majors, right? Because that's 10 teams right there.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going. I don't think we're ever going to get to that point. Me personally, I still think it's going to be a haves and have-nots.
He agrees with you.
We can get 6 to 8, but I 12 is a lot. What's up, man?
Hi, Brett.
Hey, buddy. How are you? He's like, wow, I see these. I'm like, now I'm on it. This is different.
Bye.
Bye. Well, you know what? Just like your father, you're great at transitions. We should end it here. I'm the unforgettable one. You can find me at NEVA_4 BRETT_ME on all the socials.
I'm Dez's dad. I'm at Not the Chuck D on all the Twitter and all the socials. IG.
We are the_dope blog at Instagram and Threads. We're the dope blog, all one word, on Twitter. Our website is the dope.blog. And because you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe, and join us next time as we continue to discuss other people's excellence.
I don't know if you're still there, bro. Oh my God. It's chaos on this side.
Desi, you done signed off before we signed off, man. You got to learn the cues, brother. Deuces, y'all.